Okay, now we're here with Wendy Rodriguez. Wendy Rodriguez is a member of Poetic Works, and we are at the City Hall. We're at Encinitas City Hall. The date is April 15th, 2009, tax day, and we are at an art exhibit, they are featuring several of Wendy's pieces. Wendy, thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely, glad you can make it.
I just want to let you know that before we even get started, that you're very talented. You're very talented. We're thank you. I appreciate it. Now I want to walk around and talk about some of the pieces, but you and I were just having a conversation, and I thought that it would be great to have the other members hear some of the things that we're talking about. All right. Now we were talking about some of your pieces and how they just go about telling us how. Right. Tell us how you got started with art. First off, let's go there.
Art actually started with poetry. I was looking for a way to present my poetry that was non-traditional, maybe a way that more people might see it or enjoy it, that don't necessarily get into poetry. And so I was messing around with art a little bit, and I took a class in photo transfer, which allows you to put images onto canvas. And so I decided, instead of images, I'd like to put words on canvas. I thought that was a great way to make my poems bigger than life and have people see them that way. So that's how it all sort of came about.
Okay, and how long have you been doing this?
About 4 years. Really, I've been writing my whole life, but I've really only been doing the art about 4 years.
And how long does it take for you to create a piece that you actually enjoy and will show?
If it's a piece that's in my head and I have to get it out, a couple of weeks, probably at most. Sometimes a smaller piece will only take a few days, depending on what's going on. A piece like this one, it probably took me about 3 weeks because there's many layers to it, and you always have to wait for things to dry. And finding all the right keys, you know.
Now this is a very pretty piece, and I really like this. Do you want to? Well, tell me which one is your favorite piece. We'll move on. You can hit on each one, but I really want to talk to you about your favorite pieces. So if you would you take us on a ride of some of your pieces? We can start with this one.
I did this piece several years ago. It's acrylic paint with a photo transfer of the photo and then a photo transfer of the poem. It's called Rain, but it's spelled R-E-I-N, sort of like being inhibited, being afraid. So that's what the poem is about. So when you look at this, you get this image of a man standing in the rain, sort of hiding himself, you know, and that kind of thing.
When you do your art, what do you focus on? What is your focus? Like, some people will have a favorite part of the body that they like to focus on, or what is it for you? What do you pay the most attention to?
When I do work, sometimes I have an image in my head, and then sometimes I have a poem first. It goes either way. So sometimes if I have the poem, I have to think about, well, what does that poem look like? So then I create the image. Sometimes I have this amazing color scheme in my head, and then I find the words come after that. So personally, I like humans, which is funny because my sister and my kids are always like, oh, Mom likes naked. But I do like the human form. So these types of images are something that appeal to me, where you're very vulnerable but very strong, and I think that that's what the nudes represent for me. So I like the human body as a whole, men and women. Both those types of images are great for me. But there's something very, when you're looking at the human body, there's not a lot to hide. And so I think the poetry speaks to that as well, because most of my poems are very personal and very sensual in a lot of ways too. And it's hard.
Yes, very sensual.
It's hard to hide that. So I think it goes well with the human body because it's a very open, very giving sort of feeling.
Do you ever use human figure examples, or are these people people that you know?
I took this photograph. Most all my stuff, if there's people in it, are photographs that I've taken. There are a couple that are not, but I prefer to use my own images if I can. It's hard to get people to take off their clothes for pictures, let me just tell you.
Well, just let me tell you, I'd like to see some of the other photos. Okay, let's move on. Okay, tell me about this one.
This one is my favorite piece right now, and it was a little bit of a departure for me to not put my own words on it, though the poem goes with it. Keys are sort of a theme in my life right now. when I met my fiance, I took a trip to Italy shortly thereafter, and I brought him back keys and art because he held the key to my heart. And so that is a theme that's very strong for me, which influenced this piece very much. So he and I did a lot of looking together to find the hardware and those kinds of things. And then I have a book of 18th century poetry.
Oh, I just saw that.
At home. So these words are not mine, but they're inspirational poems from it.
Oh my goodness. Now tell what we're looking at, because I doubt seriously that my camera will be able to get that.
This is a piece of birch. It's 36 by 34. So this is wood. And then these are actual skeleton keys that have been adhered to the wood. It's done with reds and coppers. And then we do have poetry from a book of 18th century verse that has been into the layers and then revealed a bit so that if you looked really closely you could read the word.
Now, do any of these keys fit that lock, that particular lock? We was trying to figure it out.
Well, I don't know. That's sort of up to who's looking at it. You know, which key speaks to you, and you know, would that open your lock?
Okay. I like this one. I really like this one.
Again, this is birch, and this was the first piece I did on wood, and I found that I really enjoyed working on wood.
This one was at the Train of Thought, right?
Yes.
I remember seeing it. When I saw it, I was like, oh, shucks.
But this is, again, a person I knew who let me photograph him. He was very generous about that. And these tattoos that he had, he very much presented this image that I didn't think was really who he was, which is, if you read the poem, that to me is more who he was. But the way he presented himself, and I think the way society perceived him, was very different if you didn't know him. And so I like the juxtaposition of who he was on the inside versus what he showed on the outside.
Nice. Now you're very diverse, because I mean
it's all over.
Yeah, you've never. I haven't seen too many of your paintings that are too many of your pictures that are exactly alike.
No,
I see that you have a lot of Asian influence, right?
Asian influence.
Yeah.
I think because of the clean lines that you find in Asian pieces. I love texture, everything. I think the one thing that runs everything together is texture. I want you to reach out and touch a piece when you see it.
Did you hear that? Over there, I asked him. I was like, you don't feel like you don't feel like you want to touch them? He said no.
For me, that's how it is, and I always want people to want to reach out.
Didn't that tell you?
Because I always get in trouble at museums. Like when you go, I'm always like, distract the guards because I want to see what it feels like. But that's how I am.
I'm right. I should have taken the art class.
I do teach art classes, but I wasn't formally trained, so there's no rules for me. So I can do whatever I want to do. If it works, and it works on the medium that I'm doing, then why not do it? You know. So this I just finished for a friend of mine, so he hasn't seen it yet. I'm very excited.
Now I really like this art. Can you explain? No, I'm playing.
Wait, this is the art that my mom made.
Nice going, Mom. My battery's about to go dead, so can we?
We do want to do more?
Yeah.
I love red. That's another thing and copper. So these are actual pieces of copper that are on it, and this is leather. And more paper, and so I like to mix it up and layer things, put things together you might not think about. So I just do what I love, and what comes to my brain, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it creates itself. I start in one direction, and it just ends up way over here, but it's okay.
As with most art, whether it's...
Well, in the poetry, sometimes you start here, and you end up way over here.
Exactly.
And that's okay, too.
Yep, it's totally not what you expected, but better.
Yes, and I find a lot of times these things create themselves, and I'm okay with that.
Now, where can your art be seen throughout San Diego?
I'm here for the entire month of April, and then I don't have anything lined up until July. I'm doing a show at Valley View Casino, July 25th, and I plan on being also at Lucadia Art Walk in August 30th.
Okay.
So I have my MySpace page, which has a lot of art on it, which is myspace.com/Wendy Rod, R-O-D. But hopefully I'll be somewhere local shortly.
Okay, well, Wendy, thank you for inviting us out here. You're very talented, and I hope that someone sees you and makes you famous.
All
right, well, thank you for coming. Thank you for having us, and you take care.
Absolutely.